Welcome to DroneLaw.pro. Today on our show, we've got a very special guest. We've got Keith Kaplan, and Keith is the CEO of Tesla Foundation. I'm sure you're familiar with that. He's also the president of UAVSA, which is a nonprofit group that really is at the forefront of commercial use of drones and putting together the community that is going to be at the end of the spear when it comes to innovation and applications in the market for drone use. Welcome to the show, Keith.
Thank you so much, Enrico. Really, really happy to be here, and we really enjoy all of the different things that you promote and the information, fantastic legal information that your organization puts out.
I appreciate that. So I want to talk today about the thing that's really coming up very quickly here, and it's the IDE conference. So it's the International Drone Conference, which I find that's really interesting because drones are international by nature. Everything that's happening, we've got our of course our federal regulations and our state regulations, but it's really an international phenomena, SUAS. And so tell us a little bit about the conference. It's coming up in LA at the LA Convention Center, December 11th and 12th. So that's really fast. People need to get registered. Tell us why this conference is happening.
Yes, the conference is happening because, well, it was actually a couple years ago. Before this all hit the press, there was an organization that was taking place by Congress dealing with the integration of SUAS, or what we commonly call drones now, commercial drones. And the FAA held a meeting that basically was the first public hearing and first public gathering about integration and also a center of excellence. And this was a couple years ago. So the Tesla Foundation was invited, and we were participating in some of the different organization of the teams for Center of Excellence to study this type of integration. And we realized that there were some fantastic robotics organizations out there, but there wasn't really an association that was representing the end user and the armchair engineer and also the aerospace or basically aeronautical community that was involved in what is the infancy of aerial robotics. So we decided to have a little stakeholder meeting. Little did we realize that 12 weeks later, 4,000 people would show up to the LA Sports Arena for the very first expo, which was called the LA Drone Expo at that time. And after that happened, we realized that we had to have something on a global scale. So we partnered up with an organization that's an international expo and business conference organization called E.J. Krause. Yep. And we are now at the LA Convention Center. We're expecting about 10,000 people a day from all over the world. We have a professional business conference that's co-located with an expo, really a science expo type thing. We're going to have universities from all over the world. We're going to have fantastic different types of disciplines. It's going to be an incredible gathering. Actually, I'm very excited just to meet most of the people that I've been talking to on the phone. So I'm really, really excited about it.
Yeah, people don't understand. I mean, you put 10,000 people at any sort of expo or conference, that's just a massive number. And it shows how much interest there is in commercial drone use and how much people are starved for information about commercial drone use and all the different applications for drones that there are. And one of the things that I saw on your website that I just thought was amazing and great was that we all know about the obvious things in terms of drone use and taking videos and pictures and maybe gathering some data if you've got a more sophisticated payload. But really within these industry sectors of agriculture or closed set film production or even real estate, oil rig inspections, there's so much innovation going on, and it's going way past capturing a video on the software side, etc. And this conference is really going to drive towards those applications in terms of educating people. So tell us a little bit about that part of the conference and what people can expect when they come.
So some of the professors and scientists that we have that are going to be engaging in the conference are going to be discussing everything from geospatial imaging down to different types of delivery of pesticides in agriculture. So you touched on a lot of the things that are involved. Now, what is the most fascinating about this is that we also have to think about the different cybersecurity and the different types of hyperconnectivity, as well as different monitoring or the different types of applications that are going to be developed not only for transportation of goods and services, but also for data and also for the traffic management system that's going to, be deployed. Because we're really dealing with a new part of general aviation. If you think about general aviation, and we've been down this road before as far as integrating aviation into the airspace for mankind, but we're dealing with a different airspace. So there's something that's called AGL. Basically, that means air to ground level. Now, that air to ground level from 0 to 400 feet is and has been considered a pass through altitude by aircraft, either on takeoff or in landing. This is an entirely new airspace that we're integrating right now, and that is from 0 to 400 feet, and that is the domain of aerial robotics.
Right, and we've got to figure that airspace out and make it safe and figure out how to best use it and figure out how to best handle the traffic that's going to be occurring in that airspace. And the thing that I think is so fascinating is how involved the industry is itself in figuring out that puzzle and not waiting for the regulatory aspect to figure it out, because quite honestly they may never figure it out. The industry itself has to
Right.
take the lead here, and it has, and it's been quite
Yeah.
stunning, the innovation that has occurred.
I think the wonderful thing about the aerospace community in general, not only that aerospace community that was the forefathers like the Wright brothers and a lot of the different European uh, companies that came about at the same time, moved into the entire aerospace industry, including aerospace that we know as space travel. He's done a very good job of self-regulation. And the reason why the self-regulation is something that's so paramount to the safety of mankind in aerial type of activities, in aerospace in general. We also see that as well with maritime. Whenever anything leaves terra firma and we're dealing with something that has the potential to, not be safe for humans, the folks that are involved with it tend to be fairly secure. Now, we have to educate those that don't make that connection.
Yeah.
And the difference between aero robotics and the tradition of aerospace and aeronautics that we dealt with really specifically has to do with um, the virtual experience of flight versus the physical experience of flight.
Yeah.
So that suspension of the physical sensation of flight creates a type of feeling of safety that is actually false, because you have an aircraft in the air that still potentially could fall on a person or property. And part of this integration and this understanding, and one of the things about the conference is people that have been driving this industry also need to drive the education and public outreach to our lawmakers and to the general public, and to help them understand the potential, the incredible potential of good that this has for mankind.
Right, and it's true. I mean, the amount of good that can come from drone use, safety, and helping, do jobs that people perhaps shouldn't be doing that are unsafe. As we start to see that evolve and we see examples of that, I think we're going to see a lot more adoption. Well, tell me, Keith, who should be attending this conference? If you had to say, hey, look here are the categories of people who need to take a look at coming and find a way to make it there. Who are those people?
I would say it's anyone that's an entrepreneur that's excited about a new business. This is the largest gateway to an aviation business at the most economical cost that man has ever seen. And you really should attend the business conference in this way. And also individuals that are of expertise, that are in the community, that have been involved, that have been active in attending all the different types of events that are out there. This is going to be at a scale never seen before. I mean, we literally have delegations from every continent. It's been incredible, the interest. I mean, just this morning I had it's called SK. Oh, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, SHK, which is the organization. It's like the PBS of Japan, right?
Right.
I think I got that. I hope I got the acronym right. It could be KSM, but I'm sure you guys will Twitter me and let me know that I didn't
We'll
do it
figure
right.
it out, right?
but it literally, I mean, every news agency across the globe, every organization across the globe that's involved in SUAS is having a presence and physically going to be there. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and it is. As I tell people, I was there at the very beginning of the internet and watching it all happen way before Yahoo and Google, and I tell people, and they think I'm nuts, but I say, look at this is the next biggest thing since the internet, and you watch, and it does deal with some of the issues that you touched on, which is really the accessibility of the technology, which is just maybe a little less accessible than a smartphone, but in that category. And there were a lot of more things to figure out in the internet space than there are in the SUAS space. I mean, here we've got safety, we've got this airspace issue, we've got to figure out some of the regulations, but that actually is less complex than some of the things that were coming down the pipe in the early days of the internet. And of course, there was no commercial. You remember, I mean, you couldn't be commercial on the internet in the 90s because that was heresy. Like, what? You're
Yeah.
going to make business off of the internet? You're going to make money? That's unethical, right? So all that
Remember,
changed
people were
over time.
terrified.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
people were
was.
terrified to spend money. Oh my God, I'm
Yeah,
going to buy
exactly.
something online.
Here's the deal. I think that one of the fascinating things that I always love is that Nikola Tesla, who was there to help roll out electricity for mankind and was an amazing inventor. People don't realize what his connection is to unmanned systems. So why don't you tell people? I think it's a great piece of trivia.
So there were a few individuals that were involved with the different transfer of energy uh, at the turn of the 20th century. And this really started, and Nikola Tesla was one of the folks that was on the forefront. There was also Marconi and a few other different scientists that were working on this at the time. And it had to do with the transfer of radio waves and energy wirelessly.
Yep.
And one of the things that Nikola Tesla discovered, along with some other folks, was the ability to actuate attenuators or switches, or the very large types of switches that we see in use in robotics today. And he built one of the first nautical drones, or actual wireless boat,
Right.
Nautilus drone, that was demonstrated for the Navy in 1889.
Yep.
And people didn't believe it. They thought it was fake. They thought it was heresy. And it was one of those situations where it was something that was 100 years before its time.
Yeah. Remote
But
control boat.
he is really the father. I would say he's one of the fathers of robotics. And the other thing to talk about Tesla that people don't realize was that the invention of AC current, or what we call alternating current,
Yep.
is really the basis for computer science at its most basic core. Let's remember that, of what we call packet delivery.
Yep.
So that really is something that one man, or at least we can't give Nikola all of the credit because it was a movement
Right.
at the time, but it was literally one man that perfected AC current. He was the one that did that, that created the first actual
Yeah.
electric network in our entire energy grid for the globe.
Yeah, and so it makes sense that Tesla would be involved in UAS because across so many different levels, from the batteries to the electrical aspects and the radio waves, on onto your the essentially the namesake of Tesla Motors, and so it's pretty exciting to see Tesla is one of the innovating companies that's helping to support the community. So let me ask you, Keith, if we were to take a look at like the state of the industry, which is so early in its cycle, but if we were to take a look at the state of the industry right now, what are the most important things that we need to have occur from a technology standpoint and a regulatory standpoint and an end user standpoint to see the next iteration of this industry?
Well, first from technology, I think that the people that are working on the drones really have to develop a ubiquitous system, or some type of operating system for air traffic management. Now, there is a project going on. I don't know if a lot of you are familiar with it at NASA, called the Unmanned Traffic Management System, that is going to eventually integrate into the next iteration of our air traffic management system.
Mhm.
But I think that the technologists can do a lot of this already, and some of them have. Some of the big manufacturers have done a great job with geofencing with the different controllers. And I think that they need to continue having that responsibility, and they need to continue to be the leaders in this and not wait for legislation. Now, on the legislative front, I think that lawmakers need to realize that this is general aviation, and they need to stop creating new laws. They need to look at the existing aviation laws, and they need to amend those laws to include what I was saying, AGL from 0 to 400 or 500 feet for commercial practice,
Yeah.
actually. But they need to do this and they need to be aggressive about it and stop trying to grab headlines and just create new laws that we don't need.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already illegal to hover over somebody's property with an aircraft. It's called trespassing. Ask
Right.
any attorney like yourself. You know that.
Yes, exactly.
So, and so for the end user or for the entrepreneur, go out and educate and be part of the public policy discussion. The first time a drone finds a lost kid, we're not going to have these issues. Everybody's going to want a lot of them and doing a lot of things. And you know what? That's going to happen.
Yeah, do some good with your drone. Be sensitive to the people who are there. So stay away from people, and be respectful of private property. It's all common sense stuff, and of course the video and the pictures that are captured are amazing to everyone. And we all know that when you go out to a place to fly your drone, the overwhelming reaction is
It's amazing.
check that out, right?
Yeah.
And that's there's a very vocal minority of privacy concerns, but the vast majority of people want to see these things fly. They're amazed by them and the things that they can do. And really the price point to me, at under $3,000, under $2,000 for a really sophisticated piece of equipment, I don't understand that. It's stunning to me.
It is. It's amazing. And the funny thing about all of this, and we also have to kind of remember that, this is how man deals with technology. Okay, technology. You discover something. Let's just use fire as an example. It's a secret. It's owned by those that only can harness that power. They use it as a weapon. Flaming fireballs on the
Right.
battlefield. But then as it becomes something that becomes less expensive as an entry point, well, just imagine, I think that airplanes, if we look at how this has all gone down, is probably the most incredible gateway to peace and understanding that the globe has ever seen. And now with the advent of the internet, I mean, you and I are having a conversation across a continent.
Hmm.
And, this is how technology, when it begins to machinate down, or I call matriculate
Yeah.
from what is a very difficult and expensive task to one that becomes just a utility. We see incredible. Well, there is business disruption. We talk about that, but
Yes.
an incredible amount of good that it ends up doing for mankind because it empowers the individual and empowers civil liberty. And that's the part when we were talking about responsibility that's so vital that you have to, as a user, realize that you're operating an aircraft, and that is an incredible opportunity and an incredible right, but
Yeah.
it is also a responsibility.
Exactly, exactly. Well, Keith Kaplan, it's been a real pleasure to have you on the show today. Everyone, you need to get to the IDE conference in Los Angeles at the LA Convention Center, which is just an amazing place if you've never been there. It's December 11th and 12th. It's probably going to be the biggest thing by far we've ever seen in commercial drone in terms of gathering
So,
of people. And if you're
yep.
not there, you'll never be able to make that experience up. So get yourself there. I know I'm coming off a vacation. I'm going to find my way there, and I will say hi when I see you, Keith. Have a great evening.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you so much, Enrico. And for everyone out there, thank you and keep flying safe.